Hello everyone, this is Insta here. Welcome back to my series A Legend's Tale. We are at Season 1, Episode 5, which I've called The Huntsman. It's a very important episode, which will mean a great deal, especially towards if you're looking at the future, which of course you can't, but I can't. It will take around 57 minutes. It's again, of course, as with the previous episodes of my Season 1, a completely new storyline. But if you look very carefully, you will start to be able to connect dots. So without further ado, let's just jump straight into this. Enjoy. It's one of the towns of the old settlements, almost identical to the one where Joshua and Delphine come from. The old settlements were the first villages that have been built in this continent, very much like old towns of the Middle Ages. The people here live happily and careless lives. At least, they used to, until a couple of weeks ago a child of 8 years old disappeared in the woods. Then, a few days later, a woman disappeared as well. Soon, 5 people were missing, and it didn't stop there. Something was lurking in those woods, yet no one really knew what. All they knew was that they are powerless to do anything about it. A young boy around the age of 10 named Austin is playing around with some friends in the village streets. Austin is a typical boy who only wants to come of age as quickly as possible. How he longs for the life of an adult, like his father. Yet he does love to spend his time with his friends, playing tag or hide and seek in the village's farm and streets. It's almost the perfect place to do it. When Austin and his friends look at the forest from time to time, their reactions vary. Some get scared and don't ever want to go into the woods alone, not without their parents. Others, like Austin, want to prove themselves and often think about going into the woods alone, but they all know that's forbidden. As they are playing tag, a friend of Austin suddenly stops him, pointing at the woods once again. This one decides it would be fun to make a dare out of it. The one who dares to get the closest to the edge of the forest wins. Austin needs a moment, but he's not a chicken. He wants to be big and strong, like his father. He eventually takes the first step from the farm grounds towards the forest. His friend laughs and takes 2 steps. Austin then takes another 2. His friend then boldly takes 5 steps. Austin quickly takes 6 steps. But now those tall, dark trees are really starting to get big. Austin's friend takes another 2 steps, almost putting them around halfway between the village and the forest. Austin now contemplates. Maybe he isn't the brave hero he wants to be. His friend starts to laugh and challenge him even more by calling him out. Austin is not having any of that. He takes a deep breath, stretches out his leg, and then suddenly Austin is stopped by his father. His father, Aaron, grabs him by the arm with a strong grip and orders the friend to get back to the village this instant. Austin's friend, completely intimidated, runs back home. Aaron takes his son Austin with him to their house as he forbids him to ever go into the woods without him again. Austin is totally silenced. They live in a medium-sized wooden house at the edge of the village, not too far away from the city square, close enough to all the most important shops and places. As Aaron takes Austin inside, he orders him to go to his room, which he does. Aaron is a retired knight, although not of great age, only at the beginning of his 40s. He's still young, but it does show that he has been through a lot in his life. Since his wife died, he was the only family Austin had. This made Aaron step away from his fighting days and hence lead a normal life while taking care of his son. A man from a distance would call him overprotective, yet it's the only way of thinking he has. He lost his wife at a young age, and he'll be damned if he would lose his only son too. Austin, however, doesn't think the same way. He's young, energetic, adventurous, and wants to see what's out there, beyond the same old trees he has been staring at for 10 years. What could be so dangerous about those woods? Why would no adult in this village let any boy or girl near the edge of the forest? These are the questions every child asks himself. That evening, they both have dinner, but Austin is still quite mad at Aaron since he feels like his father won't let him spend time with his friends and lead his life the way he wants. Aaron tries to talk about Austin's progression as a music player. Apparently, he has proved himself to be quite gifted with a violin. Austin has no interest in talking about this and remains quiet, eating bites as small as a boy can do. Aaron confronts him about his behavior and says it's not polite. Austin counters this by saying that he doesn't find him very polite. He was just playing tag with his friends today. What's so wrong about that? Aaron claims that Austin knows very well why it was wrong, what he did today. It eventually escalates into an argument as Austin even yells at Aaron for forbidding him of having a normal life. Aaron then slams his fist on the table, stating that Austin has a better life than countless of other children in the world, yet children like him are always too stubborn to see that. There is a brief silence. Austin eventually claims that his mother would understand them. Aaron remains silent. How could Austin even think that? He never even knew his mother since she died when he was far too young to remember anything. Austin eventually asks if he can go to his room, to which Aaron responds that he can. Austin goes to his room as Aaron remains seated at the table, thinking. Aaron later sits on his porch while trying to have a smoke, trying to enjoy a quiet evening with a gentle evening breeze. He is visited by Huntsman, a local hunter and a good friend of Aaron. Huntsman is at the beginning of his 30s. He has a slightly scarred face, although having never been an actual soldier, but he does have decent skills with a sword. Huntsman sits next to Aaron on his porch and both commence their daily catching up conversation. Aaron speaks his heart to him and expresses his frustrations about his son. How he wishes that Austin with his 10-year-old mind could understand what he is trying to protect him from. Hardwin understands but does reflect on it by asking Aaron how they used to be as children. He even confronts Aaron by saying that every time he looks at Austin, he sees a younger version of Aaron himself. Aaron smiles. Hardwin does advise him to give Austin maybe a bit more freedom. He's 10 years old, he wants to conquer the world with his magical adventures. Why not let him? They were the same when they were children. Aaron confronts Hardwin by saying that dozens of people didn't disappear in the woods when they were children. This silences Hardwin. Times never remain the same, it's true. Even the wind doesn't feel the same anymore as it did in the childhood years of Hardwin and Aaron. But in the end, they both know that they have good lives for which many people would die for. As Aaron and Hardwin talk on the porch, Austin lies on his bed in his room. He reads a book about old stories and myths. They go about mysterious monsters that lurk in the woods, about a cave somewhere at the end of the world. It's really exciting. He puts it down and stares out the window, which is directly pointed at the forest. He looks at the woods, with eyes longing to know what's out there. His curiosity is almost killing him. He must find out what's going on out there. Later that night, Hardwin goes to his house, the same kind of house as the one of Aaron, but then more in the center of the village. He joins his wife Renata in the couch. Renata is slightly older than Hardwin. As he comes home, she sits on the couch with a book in her hands in front of the hearth. She turns around and smiles upon the sight of him, the perfect picture any man would want to come home to. Hardwin sits next to Renata as she cuddles against him. It's a special sight. A scarred man sitting next to a woman with skin as smooth as silk. Renata has never had a fight in her life, other than Hardwin, but they both share a deeply sweet love toward each other, both living a good life of quietness and comfort. Renata asks how things were with Aaron, to which Hardwin tells her to report. They do respect Aaron for doing it, stopping his career as a royal knight, pledging his life to look after his son alone. Renata even starts to wonder how it would be if she and Hardwin ever had children. Hardwin responds by saying that he would move to the local bar if they ever had started having children. They both laugh and cuddle. They definitely do not have the desire of having children, and that's perfectly alright. The next day, the sun shines through the streets of the village. The bells of the small church sound and everyone goes into the streets as the local shops open their doors. It's not as big and grand as the capital, but it's enough for these people here. The sun almost shines through the window of Austin's room, But right before it has a chance to do so, a long rope made out of bed sheets is swung out of the window. Austin climbs out of his window, looking enthusiastic and self-confident. This is the day. This is the day he will finally venture out into the unknown. All the while, Aaron lies sleeping in the couch downstairs in the house. Knowing that he would wake him up, Austin seeked out a more scenic escape. He lands on the ground next to the house and has a clear path towards the woods. This time, there are no friends to taunt him or challenge him. There's no father to hold him. This is his decision. It's time to prove that he's not just a young child. Slowly but surely, he steps towards the dark trees. But with each step he takes, his pace increases. He looks back at his house. There's no father who comes running to stop him. No one knows he's doing this, and no one should know. It's just a quick adventure, in and out. He stands at the edge of the tree line. This is the furthest away he has ever been from his village. He doesn't feel fear, only steadiness and a strange sort of courage. Yet who should he be brave for? Only for himself, since he's the only one who knows what he's doing. He stares into the black wilderness of the woods, takes a deep breath, and there he makes a step. Nothing. No monsters who come to attack him, no plants who come to consume him, not even a terrifying wind that screams evil. Nothing. He takes another step, and another one. Soon he finds himself just exploring the forest. This is hardly the evil and scary forest of the stories that he and the other children grew up hearing. This is just a forest, ordinary. Here and there are rabbits and squirrels, birds fly over his head. He almost feels cheated. Deeper and deeper he goes into the woods. This is beyond strange. What is it then that everyone could be so scared of? As he walks past some trees, he suddenly hears a voice. A whisper. It's probably the wind. It doesn't take long, however, before the whisper comes back. And another. And another. Austin looks back to see if there's no one behind him who's trying to fool him. The whispers keep on chasing him. This is getting a bit much. Austin starts to cover his ears, yet this doesn't work. He starts to run. He must get back to the village. He doesn't care if he's a coward, he doesn't care. Now he only wants to be at home, he wants his father there. He starts to run back to the village, at least that's what he thinks. He doesn't have a clue where he comes from. In the deeper parts of the forest, it all looks the same. The whispers keep on chasing him, again and again and again. He runs past trees and bushes, but it almost feels like there's no escaping this. Then, he stops. He sees something in the distance. This is not a tree, or a bush, or a plant. This almost looks like a special sort of rock formation. He slowly goes towards it. What on earth could this be? Rocks all piled together, but in the middle there's a small opening. At this moment, Austin doesn't even think about the whispers. He only sees these rocks. Suddenly, the sense of adventure and excitement comes back. He slowly picks some rocks and slays them aside. The small opening slowly gets more wide, almost wide enough for a child to get through. Austin looks back. The village is not in sight. There's no one here but him. He looks at the opening and then enters a strange opening between the rocks. He doesn't even think, he just does it, almost as if a strange new instinct has taken over his mind. He enters and then almost falls down. Of what appeared to be only a small hole from the outside, actually appears to be far bigger. It's a hallway. It's something he has never seen before. It's almost completely dark, but the light from the outside does help a bit. Markings cover pretty much all of the walls inside. But these are the strangest drawings Austin has ever seen. Drawings of men with long sticks in their hands. Some men are very large and have even bigger sticks. This is very strange, but Austin is pretty fascinated by it. He continues to walk along the walls, further into the dark cave. What else does he see? Red markings? Green markings? Red and green. These two colors seem to be the only colors they had when, well, whoever they were, drew these drawings. It's weird, all these lines and spots on the walls are either red or green. Yet all the little men that are drawn are black, completely black, with two tiny red dots on their faces. As the sun rises higher outside, it sheds more light inside the cave. This shows Austin the end of the tunnel, yet at the end, the strangest drawing of all, a face, but not like the face of Austin, or his father, or his friends. It's almost as if it's a face, but with part of the skin missing. The teeth are much more sharp than Austin's, and the eyes are red. What on earth is this? It's enough to scare every living child, but not Austin. He's even more fascinated now, it seems. He takes a step closer and looks deep inside the eyes of a giant face on the wall. What would happen if he touched it? He reaches out his hand and carefully places it against the face on the wall. It's totally silent. The whispers are gone, the wind is gone, the sounds from the outside are gone. Then a sudden crack is heard from underneath Austin's feet. The ground loses its strength and cracks wide open. Austin screams as he falls into total darkness. Back in the village, a blacksmith called Felix is working intensively in his shop. Felix is a young man in the middle of his 20s. He's still young, but already has a good reputation in doing his craft, not to mention that he has earned a rank among one of the most respected inhabitants of the town. He mainly makes tools for the farmers and a couple of weapons for the hunters, such as Huntsman. Yet Felix is known for his creativity and is able to make the most sophisticated kind of weapons and tools. As the dawn is nearing its end, he sees he needs more wood for lighting the fire in his shop. Only one place to find that, and that's in the forest. He takes his axe and ventures out into the woods. As he goes there, he passes Hardwin and Renata's house. Renata comes outside and they both greet each other. In the darkness, Austin still lies unconscious, at the bottom of wherever he might be. He can hardly see anything. If he looks up, he can hardly see where the top is. He gets up, with some fractured ribs no doubt. He's in pain, but still he gives no kick. He slowly gets up and stands straight. His arms and legs are scarred, but he pays no attention to them. He appears to be in another tunnel of some sorts. Yet how is it possible that he can see here? So deep beneath the ground. He notices a bright green light coming from somewhere deep inside the cave. His eyes are fixed at the green light from the moment he lays eyes upon it. He slowly goes to where the light comes from, step by step, almost as if he's under some kind of spell. The whispers now come back, more stronger and powerful than ever, but Austin doesn't even flinch. On the other side of the cave, he sees where the light is coming from. A small but very bright green stone is stuck in the wall. Austin can't take his eyes off it and goes even closer, till a point he stands right in front of the stone in the wall. The whispers aren't even the whispers anymore. They have disturbingly evolved into cries. Cries in agony, cries as if death is engulfing the scene itself. Austin doesn't even seem to notice. When he's standing right in front of the stone, he wants to touch it. It's the most beautiful and haunting thing he has ever seen, and he must have it. He reaches out. The cries are deafening at this point. Thousands of voices in pure agony are screaming in Austin's ears. He touches the stone. As he touches it, however, the stone clutches itself on Austin's hand, causing extreme pain. The cries stop, and Austin's eyes stretch as wide as possible. Austin screams from the top of his lungs. It feels like a lethal combination of death, horror, and torment is spreading all over Austin's arm. Austin screams and makes sounds no parent ever wants to hear from his child. The green stone has completely infested itself in the palm of Austin's right hand, as Austin lies on the ground, kicking and screaming. Disturbing roars and cries take over the whole cave that can be heard from outside it. Felix, who is chopping down a tree in the woods, can hear it from far away. Whispers also infest his ears now, but he resists, and hears the screams and sounds of agony coming from a distance. He runs towards the cave with his axe, where the screams come from. He notices the entrance and yells through it, asking who's down there. He can hear the cries and screams coming from further below. Felix enters the cave and notices a huge pit at the end. He looks down the pit and notices a bright green light at the bottom, where the cries and screams are coming from. Felix shouts that he's going to get help. In the town, Aaron is searching for his son, together with Hardwin, Renata, and some other villagers. They ask several friends of Austin if they have seen him today, but they haven't. Aaron is seriously worried, but Hardwin tries to calm him down. Then, the cries and whispers reach the village. Everyone hears it now. Sounds of agony and death, sounds of pure suffering. Many villagers are terrified and try to cover their ears. Aaron does the same, but then looks to the forest where the sounds are coming from. He immediately fears the worst and runs to the forest. Hardwin, Renata, and some others follow him. Hardwin runs as fast as he can towards the terrifying screams. He yells for Austin as they all run into the woods. After a while, Felix comes running back and tells him that he has heard screams coming from a deep cave in the woods. He hears a young boy screaming from down below. Upon hearing this, Aaron completely loses it, as every parent would. He and the rest immediately follow Felix as they run to the cave in all haste. They arrive and enter the cave. Felix points to the pit at the end and tells Aaron that it might be his son down at the bottom. Hardwin tells some villagers to get a rope. Aaron yells down to Austin that he's coming for him. Something now occurs to all of them. The cries and screams have stopped. Everyone was yelling and shouting all the way that no one seemed to notice. Even from the bottom of the pit where Austin lies, not a sound can be heard. Aaron almost suffers a panic attack. He needs to get his son right now. The villagers arrive with a long rope from the village. Hardwin attaches the rope to Aaron as he goes down to the pit. Slowly but eventually, he reaches the bottom. He loosens the rope since it's not long enough. He notices the green light at the end and runs towards it, despite Hardwin yelling at him to be careful. Aaron arrives at the end of the tunnel and sees Austin lying on the ground, motionless. He grabs Austin in his arms, desperately trying to wake him up, but without success. He then notices something else. A small but bright green stone that has clutched itself in the palm of Austin's hand. He notices it, but hardly pays attention to it. He needs to get his son out of there. He attaches himself to the rope again with Austin. Hardwin, Renata, Felix, and all the others pull them up as hard as they can. They take Austin back to the village. Aaron is on the verge of tears as he presumes the worst, but Renata, who has some medical knowledge, ensures Aaron that he has just passed out due to shock. They place Austin on the couch as Renata gets some water. Aaron won't leave Austin's side as he tells him that everything is going to be alright. All the while, Hardwin notices the green stone, and he's not the only one. He points it out, and both he and Aaron try to get it out of Austin's hand, but without success. Hardwin goes to Felix and asks him if he has any tools that might help him. Felix immediately departs to his shop as the house of Aaron is almost being surrounded by concerned villagers. It takes a long time, but eventually Austin awakes. He sees the face of his father, who shares the biggest smile with him when he sees he's alright. Austin immediately hugs him, saying that he's very sorry. Aaron is angry, understandably so. He's furious about the fact that Austin disobeyed him, but right now, he's just happy to have his son back. A couple of hours ago, he feared far worse than that. It doesn't take long before Austin notices the green stone again in his hand. For a moment, he had hoped that that part was just a dream. The stone has stopped shining bright and has now gotten a more dark green color. That evening, everyone leaves the house. Hardwin and Renata leave Aaron, but not before telling him that if there's anything they can do for him, then he just has to let them know. Aaron is very grateful for their support. He closes the door as Austin sits on the couch by the hearth. Aaron is still a bit mad at Austin, telling him again to never leave the house like that and go into the woods alone. Austin is quiet and scared, however. If he had just stayed where he belonged, this wouldn't have happened. If he would have just stayed with his friends and father. Aaron notices how Austin's face is filling with fear and worries. And he reassures Austin that Felix, being the gifted tool user he is, will succeed in getting the strange stone from his hand. No matter how long it may take, everything will be alright. They both hug each other as Aaron tries to calm Austin down. As optimistic as they try to be, they both can't help but think about the same thing. What on earth has happened to Austin? And what can this green stone be? As the sun sets, Felix is working in a shop on a grappling tool that might loosen the stone out of Austin's hand. Hardwin and Renata are in their house, both a bit worried, since they have a very good relationship with Aaron and Austin. Everyone in the village goes to their home. Far away, however, deep in the dark woods at the edge of the continent, in a cave that is called the World's End, red flashes can be seen coming out from the depths of it. The flashes glow as eerie sounds come from deep inside the cave. As the sun has disappeared on the horizon, a frightening roar can be heard. Something inside the World's End has awakened.